Shopify is a global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business and sell more with less effort thanks to the Shopify Magic, your AI-powered all-star. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/redcircle, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/redcircle now to grow your business no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/redcircle.
Most tax pros leave a message.
It's Jane. I'm moving on to a TurboTax expert who beat your price. Adam Devine, tell him how I feel.
Hey, tax pro, she's been thinking twice. Best believe TurboTax will beat your price. This is a tax break.
Switch to a TurboTax Live expert and we'll beat what you paid your pro last tax season. Make the switch at TurboTax.com/beatyourprice. TurboTax full service only. Sign up by 12/20/2024 and file by 4/1/2025. Full details at TurboTax.com/beatyourprice.
Hey folks, John Hendricks alongside Ross Jackson here for another episode of Second and Saints. A disappointing episode that we have to do, right? This is about as bad I've seen this team. Yeah. I think this was an utter collapse. I feel like, if last week I talked about them being in free fall mode, this was them crashing down. Yeah. It's like wrecking the car. Not only did the tire bust, the car crashed. Like this is painful. Yeah. 51 points to the Bucs. I mean, this was a bad defensive effort. I mean, it looked like they kind of gave up a little bit, and it kind of overshadowed what Spencer Rattler did a little bit out there. I thought they was good, but I don't know what that second quarter was.
Yeah.
Your initial thoughts on this game?
This is the worst defensive performance we've seen on a Dennis Allen team. It's just simply what it is. And that makes these conversations really challenging because you have to imagine that, in the past couple of years, you've been able to pass the buck on the quarterback. Well, then he went and got his quarterback. And you're able to pass the buck on the offense, and then he went and got his offensive coordinator. And then now all of a sudden he has his quarterback, he has his offensive coordinator, and now it's the defense that is absolutely falling apart. 594 total yards, the second most ever given up in franchise history, the most in a Dennis Allen era, whether you're looking at him as a defensive coordinator or head coach. And then 51 points, the most that he's ever surrendered as a defensive coordinator or head coach here in New Orleans. If the defense is the thing that's not working, that's bad news for Dennis Allen.
Yeah, look, I mean, you saw last week that they got outplayed and outcoached and admitted that. Tackling was an issue last week. Tackling was a major issue against the Bucs. I mean, you had a guy come in and had 30 career rushing yards, just absolutely light you up. He had 9.7 yards a carry. I mean, this is just insane to see this team collapse this bad. And so now it's one of those things where, look, common denominator, like this has been not like a new issue, right? This is 4 straight games you've lost now, and look, something's got to change, right? Like I get to speak about, well, we got to look at ourselves in the mirror. Like we've heard this, you guys have heard this all the time, but like what can change for this team? Because again, 2-4, a lot of football left. They can do this thing where they rally and do all this other stuff, but this team is kind of who we thought they weren't going to be in some aspects, and now we're in this boat where it's just bad football.
Yeah, and let's be honest, it's not just the past 4 games, right? It's the past few years now that we've seen run defense be an issue for this team. We've seen, tackling be an issue for this team. And it feels like over and over again, it's just kind of the broken record of we got to be better at tackling. We got to be better. We got to wrap up. It's technique and fundamentals. And it's all these. Here we are again, right? Like you're right back at it. And I think that the major inefficiencies of the defense, I don't think that it is that the defense started strong this season. I think that the major inefficiencies of the defense were simply covered up by the fact that this team had these big leads. I mean, you look at the Dallas Cowboys game, it was a big missed tackle down the left sideline that turned into a big CeeDee Lamb catch and run touchdown. They just didn't have as many of those opportunities in those games because New Orleans was so ahead in terms of what it was that they were doing, and you were kind of in panic mode if you were an opposing team. And so I think not only to your point, is it something that we've seen 4 games in a row, I feel like we've seen this for multiple years now as well, and the team just simply not get better there. I think the thing that I think is maybe most incredulous around what the New Orleans Saints defense has been so far is the run defense. The run defense for the past 3 years has been abysmal, and it's not getting better. It didn't get better last year. There was a big push to get it better this year. But we talked before the season, and I was saying, I don't know where this team really got better on the defensive side. 51 points and 594 yards later, I think that proves exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah, and we thought, like, I mean, look, we watched camp. We felt pretty good about things, but now the execution is just off.
Yep.
Like, it's just not there. And look, the way this game started, getting in a hole 17-0, you lose your top receiver in Chris Olave with a concussion. I get that. The ball was stripped before that even happened. Like, I get the helmet that dude's going to get a fine and stuff. But, yeah, that happened after the giving up the touchdown drive and stuff. And then you crawl back in the second quarter. Like, that was a completely different team.
Yep.
Like, Spencer Rattler was dealing, you know what I'm saying? And they were getting the interceptions and all this other stuff. They were just being able to take control of the game. But the second half, it's just like somebody deflated them.
Yeah,
it's like something just happened. And especially at the end of the game, like, just the lack of, like, anything. Like, that's just what's troubling. And look, the locker room, a lot of people cleared out. You know what I'm saying? Let's just call it for what it is. And nobody really wanted to talk too much and such. And I understand that. But you're on a short week. You got to figure this out. You're 2-4. You've lost 4 straight. Like, the bleeding has to stop at some point. But, from this game, like, we could sit here and just browbeat it, right? Like, we can just say the run game was terrible. You couldn't get pressure on Baker Mayfield. You couldn't tackle. I mean, Dennis Allen saying that the tackling is atrocious. Like, how do you fix that?
Right. Yeah, that's a big thing. And furthermore, how do you fix it in 3 practice days? Right. I mean, you've got
walkthrough for basically tomorrow.
Right. You've got 4 sleeps between now and when you have to be back out here going up against what's going to be a high emotion game. You've got the induction of Drew Brees that's going to go on during this game. You've got Sean Payton returning to town for the first time since he left. That's not going to be a very level-headed matchup to walk in and say, okay, we got to fix flaws. You know what I mean? That's going to be really tough for them to do and tough for them to overcome. One thing that we do know about Thursday, though, is that it's still Spencer Rattler's team.
Sure.
Dennis Allen saying that his intent is very much to stick with Spencer Rattler, which I do think is the right choice.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, he should go beyond that, right? Like, it was reported earlier today that he's going to end up probably being the quarterback for at least 3 or 4 games. This is game 1. So should get the Chargers game at the end of the month, and then we'll see about the Panthers. But look, this goes way beyond what Spencer Rattler. And I think a lot of times, you even said this earlier, that it kind of like took away from some of the things that he did. Like, you don't put the pressure on your rookie quarterback going down 17-0. You just don't do that. Like, that's just not how you're supposed to play. And look, I get Rattler kind of admitting, saying, look, I put the defense in some bad situations, owning some certain things. Like, again, he's handling himself extremely professional, but I don't think you look at this game and say that Spencer Rattler was the problem, or he was the reason why they gave up 51 points or anything like that. Like, I get the one pick. Understand, you knew he was going to make mistakes, and the Saints said that, and they were going to continue to ride with him. This is more about the defense and their just lack of being able to do anything. I tweeted, and I joked maybe a little bit, but I don't know that they're top anything in anything. You know what I mean? Like, I get the red zone defense was nice coming in, but when it's ugly, it's beyond ugly. Like, this is hideous. This is atrocious. Like Dennis Allen said, the tackling was, but I just don't know. And look, Mike Evans wasn't even a factor. It's Chris Godwin. Like, that touchdown pass that he got, like, he should have never got there. And, again, I just replay this game in my head, and I'm just wondering what happened in that second half.
Yeah, it was a complete sort of meltdown in the second half, really on both sides of the ball. I get, Spencer Rattler had a really nice first half. His second half kind of tailored back a little bit. 2 interceptions in that second half. One, he's just got to put a little bit more on that ball, throw into Rashid Shaheed. And then on the other, he's got to understand that they're going to undercut that out route, especially when you're throwing to from the opposite side of the field, which I believe they were on the opposite hash, if I recall correctly. I might be wrong on that. But either way, if you're throwing the distance of across the field, they're going to undercut that ball 9 times out of 10. So you got to put that in a different place. He talked about how much, like, he needs to be better in those things. He was the one that kind of offered all that up. I also, though, think that he took on way more responsibility for the flaws of this team than he necessarily needed to. He had a completely banged up interior offensive line because the Saints have not been able to keep their players healthy. Further examples of that during this game, several injuries in the defensive backfield. Another one, Brian Brzee going off, but did come back on. They lost Tyrann Mathieu. They lost Jonathan Abram. They lost Lante Taylor for a little bit. They lost Chris Olave for the game. And this was like the first time in the last few weeks that it felt like the Saints finally weren't going to be held back by something that happened at the very beginning of the game.
Yeah.
You think back to the Philly game, the injury to Eric McCoy, Atlanta, the fumbled punt, and then also the pick six, the fluky pick six that happened, and then last week the interception that Derek Carr threw under pressure. I think that like those dictated and set the tone for the rest of the game. This was the first time we really saw them have something that was a bit of a struggle bus moment at the very beginning of the game, but then be able to still come back from it. And take a lead at one point, right? Leading 20-17, leading again, what was it, 27-24? And then eventually going down. Yeah, and then eventually going down and being scoreless in that second half. Like things just kind of melted and fell apart at that point. But when you put a rookie quarterback with a bad offensive line in a position where he's got to play hero ball, you're not going to win a game.
Yeah, and look, I don't know that I completely say that the offensive line was terrible. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't agree with.
I should say banged up.
Yeah, banged up. Well, no, definitely. I understand that. I was saying the fact that you're third and short, or you're trying to run stuff in the middle. You got Vita Vea on the other side. Like you can't do that. Like, the interiors where you're deficient, you just can't run it up the middle with. It doesn't matter if it's Kamara, if it doesn't matter if it's Kendrick Miller, it's just not working for you. And so I was surprised they didn't do a lot of stuff to the outside. I know they tried to get some things going, but they had some small success. But look, it was tough. It was tough out there. I mean, and again, I think this is more about the defense just utterly collapsing and just not like something's up, right?
Yeah.
And I think now you're looking at a space where you rode such a high going 2-0. Now you're 4 games losing. I dare say if they lose this game against Denver, I really question what this locker room is made of. You know what I mean? Because I think they've maintained, it's okay. We're going to be okay. We'll push through the adversity. We'll keep doing it. But this whole we're going to get down in the season and then rally late, like it's just a cycle that is not sustainable. Yeah. And so, again, we've talked about accountability. Like something needs to happen at some point. And again, would they ever consider a coaching change in the middle of the season? I doubt it. I don't think so.
Who do you go to?
You wouldn't. Yeah, that's the thing is you wouldn't. And again, it's just something that is going to have to happen. Yeah. And so, look, we'll have plenty more on this. We're going to take a quick break, give a chance to plug our sponsor, but thanks for staying in with us. Hey, folks, John Hendricks here from Second and Saints. Look, we know it's the greatest time of the year again. Football's back, and it's here to stay until February. Look, over 1 million fans across 33 states got in a game last year by making picks on Underdog. Win up to 1,000 times your money just by choosing higher or lower on your favorite player's stats, whether it's touchdowns, passing yards, and much more. Who doesn't like apps? And Underdog has a real easy app to use. But if you're like me, I like to use a website too. So when I want to look at more stats for a game or look at splits for Alvin Kamara, this is a good site for us to go check all of that information out. Making picks on Underdog is straightforward and signing up is even easier. Just head over to Underdog's simple-to-use mobile app or UnderdogFantasy.com, sign up with promo code SecondSaints, and Underdog will give you a free pick to use on your first cash pick'em entry plus up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you deposit. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code SecondSaints to claim your new customer special of a free pick and your deposit offer. Must be 18 or older, 19 and older in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 and older in Colorado for some games, 21 and older in Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in the state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Void in Colorado. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. Arizona, 1-800-NEXT-STEP, 1-800-639-8783, or text NEXT-STEP to 53342. New York, call the 24/7 HOPE line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. I love Underdog because it's so easy to use and it's so fast to get started and play. Sign up process is really smooth and they have a slick mobile app. So what are you waiting for? Go check out Underdog today. Use that code SecondSaints and we'll see you in the game.
Shopify is a global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business and sell more with less effort thanks to the Shopify Magic, your AI-powered all-star. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/redcircle, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/redcircle now to grow your business, no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/redcircle.
All right, guys, welcome back to our post-game coverage of the Saints' disappointing loss. I mean, they just got beat down. I mean, it's no other way of putting it. Again, I've watched plenty of Saints football. I've covered plenty of games. I don't know that I can recall a game that has been like this bad. You know what I mean? Yeah, and again, this is probably recency bias and stuff. Sure. Like I remember some of the bad games that starts, like the Rams game and stuff like last year. But This is just one where it just feels like they just got defeated, and it showed out there. And look, it over, you know, it obviously glances over some of the good that happened, like Rashid Shaheed's punt return. Like, we knew this guy's always,
he was so close to breaking one.
Yes, like we know he's always got a chance to break it. I thought Spencer Rattler made some really good throws, some pro-style throws that we would expect, like the Jawan Johnson connection was something we highlighted on our pregame show or post-game or
preview. Yeah, the pregame show. Yeah,
pregame preview, you know, that thing. Yeah. Sorry, there's a lot of pre-stuff in there, but like pre-snap motion penalties that kill them. So legal shifts. But you know, we highlighted that, and then the big hookup to Foster and the Bub Means connection. We said that, you know, him and Tipton kind of are guys that are in training camp that he leaned on. It was cool to see him, Bub Means, get his first touchdown. I mean, there's probably not a guy that deserves it more. I mean, he's such a good guy in the locker room and stuff to talk with. But you know, just when it comes down to it, you get the picks, you're able to battle back, but you can't finish.
Right.
Like, it's 30 minutes, and then I said going into the second half, this is really important 30 minutes of football, because now you've lost 2 division games. You lost against the Eagles. So now when you try to play catch up, you have to worry about all that stuff too.
Yep, absolutely. And then you've got more on the way. Yes. And look, the Saints became the 11th team in NFL history to lose a game despite causing 3 turnovers or 3 interceptions, getting 3 interceptions and having a punt return for a touchdown. And this is, I think, the 3rd or 4th game this season where you can look at the Saints and say, oh, they're in this weird sort of history loss category of losing despite only allowing this many points, or losing despite taking the ball away this many times, all those other things. That's not a category that you want to be in, or those aren't categories that you want to be in. You want to be talking about this team as one that comes out here, and even if they lost this game, still like lost because, like, I would rather them have lost this game because they had a rookie quarterback. You know what I mean? Like, not like anti-Spencer Rattler type stuff. But what I'm saying is that, like, it's a much better situation for you as a team to come in and have everything else go well. And then the one thing that's like, yeah, that makes sense to go wrong, goes wrong, then I think, like, that's a big thing. But to your point, for what you were saying earlier before the break, when you were talking about the locker room, I think we have a lot of confidence in this locker room and the leaders that they have there. But it's so tough to go into a situation like the one that we're exploring as a hypothetical, which would mean a loss on Thursday, to start off so high. I mean, 91 points over the course of the first 2 games, 15 straight scoring possessions with your first team offense, and then to come out and lose 5 games in a row, that's going to test any locker room. The Saints cannot let that happen this week.
Yeah, and it's a tough task because you got Bo Nix and I mean, again,
and a really good Denver defense.
Yeah, exactly. They can tackle. That's one good thing about a Sean Payton team. Like, they're going to be able to tackle. And so, look, it's going to be tough for them to be able to rebound here. And again, you know, the captains, right? Like, you don't have Eric McCoy out there. There's no Taysom Hill, and of course Derek Carr's a captain. And Tyron gets hurt. Like, that's like your leadership, right? And so now it's just a situation where I know there's frustration. I know that tempers are boiling over. I get the talks and stuff like that, and look yourself in the mirror. But look, it's just a theme. Like, this has just been happening too often, and it's a sign of something greater, right? Like, it just the thing is, and so it's got to get figured out, because you're right. You can't go to 2-5, and then you look at it behind there. You've got the Chargers after your mini bye, and then you got the Panthers, you know, division game. So you could get back on the right side of this, but a lot of it's going to hinge on what you do on Thursday night. And so if they can pull it out somehow, and this high octane energy, if Drew's in the house, remember, they don't really do that well when Drew's in the house. Around. And the Saints aren't good in prime time under Allen too. But, you know, it's just a lot that needs to be figured out in a short amount of time. And I don't know, do you think they can pull that out?
I have very little expectation that they will. It's not that they can't. It's not that they shouldn't be able to figure it out. I'll say the same thing that I said last week after the way that we saw them lose in Kansas City. Again, them losing in Kansas City was really no surprise. Right. But the way that they lost in Kansas City was pretty bad.
That was concerning.
And so for me, the thing that I said after that game was that the New Orleans Saints are either going to be the most disappointing team in the NFL by season's end, or they're going to be the most surprising team by season's end. So if they can turn this ship around, most surprising team in the NFL, and they'll deserve every bit of, you know, everything they've allowed for in that situation. No doubt about that. But teams don't typically find a way out of a whole 5-game losing streak. They have a real potential with injury they have, the rookie quarterback factor, even though I thought that Spencer Rattler performed well here, with how badly this defense is played. it's you're going to be hard pressed to really be able to say that team can avoid losing the second game in as many days or in 4 days. We'll say Chargers right now taking it to Denver.
Yeah,
absolutely taking it to Denver 23-7 as we record this. Denver's coming on a short week as well. Man, I have a hard time believing what we have seen so far that this team will be able to turn things around.
Yeah, and you look at New Orleans, I mean, this is a defensive team, like started in 2017. Defense has been able to carry them for so long now, and now it's just like I've seen it. Like, do you think this team is just too old right now? Is it just not getting to the ball? Is it confusion and mixed messaging? Like, I guess why I say that is because on offense, you saw that like all we heard during training camp, it's one voice, it's one person that's saying everything. It sounds the same. But I don't get the sense that that's the way it is on defense. It feels like there's too many chickens running around with their head cut off.
Yeah, I definitely see that. I think that's a part of it. I also think that this team right now lacks a little bit of discipline. Sure. I think there's a little bit of discipline lacking here, and maybe you can say that's coaching. Like I wouldn't disagree with any of those things. I think there's a lot of different things you can point to, and I think that's the issue. The big issue is it's not an issue. It feels like there's so many different issues for the team. You can see that evidenced by all four of these losses. These losses kind of came down to the offense not being able to produce, and then when they did, defense being able to close out in the clutch. Atlanta loss came down to shooting themselves in the foot, giving 14 points to Atlanta early, and another inflicted on the defensive side with the 30-yard pass interference penalty. Young Wig in position for his career long field 58 yards to win the game. And if you look at Kansas City, which was really the game. You saw the self-inflicted wounds, but you saw the defense not be able to stand up. And in this game, you get absolutely blown out and dog walked on your own field. Those are four different styles of loss that don't all attribute themselves to one single thing. And I think that's my biggest concern.
I agree. And this is a lot of things where in 4 days, I don't think it's I don't like you could go watch film, you have to walk through, and even like Colin saying afterwards, like we're gonna have to put in more tackling drills and stuff, and like do that, you're gonna end up getting hurt in practice. Like I get something is off, right?
Yeah.
Like something is very off. And look,
it's tough, man.
I like covering this thing with Dennis Allen, the head coach. I remember a Pittsburgh game kind of like the low point. I don't know if we're there just yet, but I feel like it's right around the corner because after that game, and say we're just not a good football team.
Right.
And so I don't know if I buy that just yet because. Again, there's a lot of football left to be played, and can they figure it out? Sure. Is there one magic bullet or a diet pill that's going to, make it work? No, but at the same time, you got to chip away what's the most pressing issue right now.
Yeah.
I think that's tackling.
Yeah. If there's a diet pill to help this team, package it, sell it, market it, get it out there because you'll make billions, billions with a B. I think the other thing too for me is that like if the Saints do find a way to turn this performance around and then turn into a win against the Denver Broncos in 4 days, study it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like that would be a massive turnaround for this team. I hate coming up here and being like, well, I don't know. I don't think they're going to be able to do it, blah, 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 because you never know in the NFL. Sure. Like that's just the truth of the matter is that you never really know in the NFL. But I think you can believe what your eyes are seeing for right now. And then if they turn things around, you can believe what your eyes see then. But I think we need to see it before we can really believe it.
Yeah, and then see it consistently.
Yes.
Because that's always been the problem. And we've talked about this, is that the consistency is the issue here, right? And I just don't see any form of consistency with this team now. And you saw it in the first couple of games, but for them to just fall off the way that they have in the past four, it's just troubling. Yeah. And again, I get the injuries are a problem, but in the same aspect, you got to have better depth too. Your depth, that's why your depth is. And we always said with this offensive line, it wasn't a matter of if, it was a matter of when. Yeah. And you knew that things were going to happen here. And so, again, you get Jordan Mims getting a little bit more touches than Jamal Williams, like Dre Miller. You just see certain things like he's so activated off injury, but yet he's inactive for the game. And, I think it might be more with the playbook and some other things in football. Yeah. Who knows? But it's bizarre decisions like that get magnified when you're losing 4 straight games.
I wonder how much of the Dre Miller was such an interesting thing, because I wonder how much of it was simply that they were moving Will Harris to injured reserve. They had an open roster spot. You're eventually active him anyway. You might as well do it. But it's just a strange thing to do because I don't think there's any. I mean, Dick Allen said, I think it was early in the week that he said that Will Harris was a candidate for injured reserve. They tried out 4 safeties. and then they didn't do anything. They did nothing, and then just put Will Harris on just driving the car while doing like filming himself. It's like terrifying. I'm afraid we're gonna run over for a second. But like it's just you wanted to like why not do that earlier in the week? Especially if you know that's happening, you know it's a candidate for it. Do that earlier in the week, bring another safety in. They closed only had 2 active safeties in this. They ended up only 3. It was only because they elevated Jonathan Abram. That was such an interesting decision, like elevate to do that, to activate him and have him active for the day.
Yeah, down to safety at one point.
Right.
J.C. Gray's playing, and I mean that's not the design. He's a special teams guy. Now put with the short week, Milton Bradford is a guy that's
right.
But the problem is now you can only elevate 2 from the practice squad. So there might have to be some roster trimming or some type of accounting type of stuff. Be able to bring somebody just to field a roster that's going to fill out your positions and stuff. So
that's how they lost A.T. Perry.
Yeah, look, and A.T. Perry comes to town, and of course he's on the practice squad. I don't know if you see him, but
of course he comes to town right away. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, look, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but again, it's a tough one. I'd ask game balls. I just don't know.
I got 2.
I mean, I do. Like, I don't know if I'd give to me on defense. Like,
none of them on the defense.
Yeah, I mean, I like the picks that they were able to get. Again, Cam Jordan getting a pick. You guys can probably get off of Cam Jordan's back for at least a little bit. I'm saying that he doesn't do anything, but that was a good play by Brian Brzee and stuff.
Yeah.
But when you do that bad defensively, I don't think there's much to celebrate there. But your game balls for the offense.
Rashid Shaheed on mine are both special teams. Rashid Shaheed and Matthew Hayball. I thought Matthew Hayball was a big part of the Saints defense being an advantageous situation. The defense just couldn't cash in on him. But several of his punts down within the 10, forcing Tampa to march more than 90 yards on a couple different occasions. The issue is that the defense was able to make good on that, but I thought Matthew Hayball gave him a great place to start. And then you got the Rashid Shaheed punt return touchdown. I'm not going to give one to Spencer Rattler, not because I don't think that he didn't play well to begin the game, but you saw that kind of peter off towards the end of it. And so I think, look forward to seeing what he's able to do in these next few games.
Yeah, I like the Hayball one. I think maybe honorable mention would be Bub Means for me.
Oh, sure. Yeah, of course.
Just because the way he was able to step up today. And look, I like what Foster was able to do in the receiving department, Juwan, a little bit, even though it wasn't
Nathan
a lot.
Shepard kind of had a nice game.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, there's some things here and there. But again, when you lose 51-27, I mean, it just looks bad all around.
Bottom of the barrel, man.
Yeah, like we're just kind of trying to find something. Like, I mean,
bobbing for apples
here. And, look, again, you talked about Matt Hayball. That was a concern going to camp. I think he's looked pretty comfortable. I'll tell you somebody else who I think has looked comfortable that is not really talked about, but was to talk about before we got into the season. That's Trevor Penning.
Oh,
he looks pretty good out there.
I haven't said his name in weeks.
They look pretty good and comfortable. So if the Saints can get their offensive line back together, I mean, they got a lot to figure out defensively, but that could be a way for them to power through things. And I think Eric McCoy's not going to be back into that Rams game December 1st. That's probably
what I
target day of where I don't think they rush him back before then unless they're really needing a win or something like that. But, Cesar Ruiz, he's progressing, but he's not ready yet. And they just got to figure a way, man. It's struggle bus. And
big time.
Saints fans are going through it. And look, the emotions fly after this game.
Oh, yeah.
And look, in some aspect, there's truth in everything.
Yeah.
There's some truth in everything. But they've got to find a way to win Thursday. It's simple as that. And I don't know if they can. And I don't know if I'll pick them this week.
Denver is a must-win game.
And we're week 7 into 7. Week 7 in the season, we're saying it's a must-win.
And it's a must-win game. Really, this one was a must-win game. Like, you go down 1-2 in your division now. You've got 2 head-to-head losses to 2 division opponents in a division that's not going to run away from you. Like, you're still going to end up probably being in the conversation by the time that it's all said and done, because every one of these teams is very roller coaster, and everything. So to have 2 head-to-head losses to 2 different teams and 3 different conference losses, like you mentioned earlier, like that's really challenging. It's really tough.
Straight year, Tampa comes in here and just absolutely dominates New Orleans.
Yeah, true.
This is not a common theme, but it's that Tom Brady game where Perry Williams come off, everything's been down in the Super Bowl when the Bucs come to town.
The game last year, the Bucs, the crap, and that was AJ. not Bridget, because the other Bucs was here at home.
Yeah,
and they had,
like
yeah. So that's just
tough one. Tough, and I don't think this is fair to say. It was brutal. It was brutal. Be honest that it was bad.
Yeah,
bad football, and they're gonna have to figure it out. But that's end up doing for us. Thank you guys for tuning in to our post show.
We're sorry.
Sorry, not sorry. Thanks so much for tuning in. Don't forget to hit the like, subscribe button on our YouTube channel. A lot of things coming down the pipeline on YouTube. So just continue to grow as a channel. But on behalf of Ross Jackson, that's going to do it for us. John Henry signing out. Second Saints. Love you.
At the UPS Store, we know being a small business owner means holiday time is still go time. Still get those orders shipped time. And still re-up on stamps and supplies time. That's why this upcoming holiday, while others close up shop, we'll be open. And happy to help you keep being unstoppable. Come into your local store today. Most locations are independently owned. Product, services, pricing, and hours of operation may vary. See Center for details. The UPS Store. Be unstoppable.